Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Before we get started, I got a little collab that's going to be going on in a couple of weeks or so with my guy, DC Soap Sanctuary. He's back. I was watching one of his reviews yesterday. He's a great guy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're working on some ideas. We got some more kind of stuff to work on before we put it out, but it will be coming out soon. So, I'll give updates, he'll get some updates or whatever when we kind of finalize the day, but it should be fun and I'm really looking forward towards it. Going into this episode, I think they're starting to get it back a little bit. It's starting to get back to where it's starting to get good again. I literally watched this episode, and especially towards the end, I'm like, are you serious? They're starting to get it back now. They're starting to move their way back to being good again. The problem with some of these episodes up until this point, and whatever, is that you'll have good parts in this episode, but sometimes the episodes aren't always good, like as a whole. This episode was definitely interesting. It was a lot better than it's been in a while. And we're gonna start with Nina and Maxie because I enjoy watching that scene. I enjoy watching that scene mainly because Nina was so worried and so squirmy that when she started talking, there was times where I couldn't understand what she was saying. Like, there was one point where Maxie was like, oh yeah, I get to sit there and meet that guy, and she was saying, oh, he's busy or something. I was like, what? I rewinded it like a couple of times where she just was gibbering. And I'm like, alright, I want to make sure I get down all my notes right. What is this woman saying? Okay, cool. I guess that's going to be something else that's lost in translation. Pretty much the whole time she's trying to get Maxie to go. She's trying to get her to go so bad. And Maxie's like, yeah, I want to be here. I missed you and yada, yada, yada. There's one point where she gets, Nina gets a text from, quote-unquote, Mike, or, I forgot the name of that damn joke, but yeah, so-called Mike, and she flats out says, listen, it's nice that you're here, but you gotta go. And Maxie was like, I'm sorry, what? But then she tries to spin it around and be like, you can't, hide from your problems here, and you gotta go back and face them, and yada, yada, yada. And, when Maxie was sitting there talking, Maxie was like, I miss Luis, and, I don't want to stay away any longer. And I'm like, so, we're right back to you just screwing up your own plan. But, Maxie's all like, no, this time I'm going to be a lot stronger, and I'm going to sit there and try to make sure I keep my distance. Yeah, because it worked out well the first time, right? So we're just going to go back and do it all over again. And, Maxie got a call, Smith saying they found Peter's blood, and, there's no body, so, Nina's like, so nothing's changed, so, like, why are you, like, going back? But then Maxie was like, well, maybe I'm strong, but I'm not strong yet, maybe I can sit there and just, spend time with you, and until I can go back, and I can finally meet this Mike guy, and I'm just like, yes, you can finally meet him. Alright, Nina, what's your plan? What you got going on? How you gonna get out of this one, Nina? I think that wasn't the highlight of it. But that was entertaining as hell. I really don't like Nina. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but this is for also the new people who may just be tuning in. I didn't like Nina since she started her whole beef with Willow Tate. And granted, Willow is not my favorite character either, but I didn't like the energy and the way she was coming at Willow like she was a bully. simply because Willow was putting Charlotte in her place as a child. So the minute she came at her sideways, I just could not stand Nina, like, with an absolute passion. And even though that they made up, like, you know, they're friends or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, that's cool, but I still don't like the chick. Like, at all. So watching her squirm today was so satisfactory. It was so satisfying. But yeah, she finally gets her out. And the minute that she walks out the door, she's all like breathing really heavy, like she had to pick back up her heart and her lungs and everything. I'm like, girl, you are working overtime on this lie. I am loving it. I mean, by loving it, I mean I love watching you squirm and doing all the stuff that you did. This is great. I mean, I don't like this whole Sunny side story stuff, but if it's making Nina work this hard overtime to try to cover her ass for, you know, her part in not helping Sunny remember and getting back to his family, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Because at least I can enjoy that part, and I will so enjoy that part. Did I not mention I'm a very petty person at times? I'm a very petty person at times. When Maxie leaves, Maxie's walking out, and you see in the bushes somebody is looking, you know, for Maxie or whatever. You know, somebody's sitting there looking, like looking at Maxie. So Maxie leaves. I'm sitting there writing, who is the person that's looking at Maxie? See the shoes and the pants. I'm like, okay, alright. You know, I know you guys are going to sit there and put out a little fast one on me. You know, when you try to show up to their face, but then you like cut it at the last second. I'm not falling for that. Nah, I'm going to continue looking like down, even though I'm looking up or whatever. And I see Peter, I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? This guy is not only alive, but this guy looked like he just woke up after a fresh nap. Like, him spending time in the freezer, the wound on his head, him falling down the flight of steps. This guy is just looking fresh to death like, yeah, I see Maxine. Yeah, I'm gonna keep following her. I was just like, that was the best part of this episode. That was the best part of this episode. Now, and this is what I mean by like, okay, now G just starting to get back to like, because they need a good villain, is what it generally comes down to a lot of times. Sometimes, you know, you can have drama here and there, and it's a little interesting or whatever, but when you have a good villain, even somebody as annoying as Nell, which I was not a fan of, at least you have something to stir things up. Like, I'm not a fan of Esmeralda Prince because she comes across as a pretentious piece of poo. But at least she's doing something that's making it, you know, interesting, and it's giving some suspense. So having Peter back, Olivia, I feel like that joke just writes itself. So Olivia is, you know, once again prattling in Dante's love life. Oh, you know, what's going on with you and Sam? Like, how's it going? What happened? Give me details, pretty much. Like, that's literally what she's doing. And you know the only thing that saves her? Leo gets a slight paper cut on his finger. And she's like, oh, we gotta go to the emergency room. I'm looking at this like, I'm sorry. That looks like it's about 3 drops of blood. Like 3 little tiny droplets of blood. And she's like, oh, we gotta go to the emergency room. You remember what happened to your finger, right? I'm sitting there looking at the situation. I'm like, Olivia, this is the definition of overreacting. This boy has a paper cut. And she's like, oh, we gotta go to the emergency room. He may need stitches. I don't even want to keep going on about this scene, but this is just like the definition of... So she winds up taking her son to the hospital over a paper cut. over a paper cut. Which, by the way, was a nice little image of, them talking for a little bit. Leo gets there. And we're all reminded that while they're trying to do this whole romance, that they share a brother. And somehow the writer's just like, nope, we got to put these two together. Because this makes sense. I mean, yeah, they share a brother and, they're like, have brothers, not by... they have siblings, not by blood, but, they have siblings. I mean, I'm going to deviate for a little bit. It's a show called Riverdale. I wouldn't suggest anyone watch it. I love it, but I understand why people don't like it. There's two characters that winds up getting together, and they know that they share, like they're cousins, like distant cousins, but they are aware that they share like a certain percent of DNA. And those two got together anyway and had children. My goodness. So yeah, anyway, this is after Sam leaves because, Olivia's like, no, stay, hang out, have lunch with us, I mean, I'm not going to make this awkward or anything like that. And Sam's like, yeah, I got, things to do, whatever. She talks to, Anna and Valentine about Drew, Peter, and seeing if she can look over the, plane crash records to see if she, see if she can find something that everyone else missed. So I think her and Dante go over there and ask, and Anna agrees, and that's pretty much about it, more or less. Chase and Brooklyn. This was another really interesting scene, and this is why I'm sitting there saying GH is starting to pick up a bit of steam. Now tomorrow seems like it's going to be even better, hopefully. But this was another great scene. Brooklyn's in the chair like, so something you want to tell the classroom? What's good? Since when could you start walking again? And how come you ain't bothered to tell, like, I don't know, anyone else? So he sits down in the chair, she grabs the letter, and she's like, oh, okay. Where'd you find this at? At this point, Chase basically says that, because Brooklyn's like, yo, why are you doing this for? Like, why would you put our family, in jeopardy? Like, why are you doing this for? And Chase is like, oh, I'm doing this to get revenge on Michael. Now, listen, I'm all for it, okay? I'm all for getting revenge on Michael. My thing is that, Brooklyn's like, alright, I get you want to, I get you're angry at him, but you're going to sit there and have us at collateral damage? Like, we brung you into this house. We took care of you. And, granted, he keeps focusing back on Michael. Michael's like, oh, well, you only did that out of guilt and this, that, and the third. I'm like, what about the rest of them? So she's upset about that. She's like, yo, how are you going to sit there and practically turn your back on everyone else? Like, I get you want to get those two, but we're just collateral damage at this point. You really don't seem like you care. So I understand where Brooklyn's coming from in that, in that sense. But let's be honest. The only reason why she says she's trying to do it for two reasons. One, she doesn't want, Austin to have any shares because she works so hard to get it back and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, alright, I can sort of get your passion a little bit. But two, I feel like it's going to mess up Brooklyn's plan with Maxie, and that's another reason why she's being so, like, I guess bitchy towards Austin. But at the end of the day, Chase is like, yo, listen, I heard what you said, but it's still my decision to make. And so, Brooklyn tries to throw in one last word, like, alright, do what you gotta do. Just, make sure you think about us before you decide to, you know, screw everyone over in your sense of right and wrong and justice or whatever. Oh, and your revenge plot too, you know. Willow and Michael. Willow's had enough. She's had enough of the lying and the guilty, like being guilty and stuff like that, and like just feeling guilty about everything that she's done so far. And so finally, she's like, you know, listen, I gotta sit there and tell him the truth. I gotta tell him the truth. I gotta do it right here, right now. And at first, Michael's like, you know, he seems like he's trying to stop her, but then he was like, all right, listen, I'm coming with you. You're not gonna sit there and face all the smoke alone. I'm doing it with you. I'm just as guilty as you. They talk back and forth, and finally, they're like, all right, fine, we're both gonna do it. So they go to the Quartermaines, and they're like, yo, Chase, we got something to tell you. And at first, Brooklyn's like, oh, well, I got something to tell you first, and, you know, can just wait until I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, Brooklyn knows that the minute that those two tell Chase about, you know, them, is going to force Chase to sit there and get his act of revenge, and that's not what Brooklyn wants. So I have a feeling like tomorrow, she's going to try to do everything that she can to sit there and try to shut them up, so that way it doesn't make Chase any more angrier to give the letter to Austin. So that's going to be interesting. But I'm like, finally, you know, and Chase just has that look like, all right, cool, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get the truth out there, you know. Now, it's interesting when Chase is there telling Brooklyn, like, you know, he knew about the affair and everything like that, and, you know, he went upstairs, and he saw, like, the messy room and stuff like that. Now, the whole time, she's there talking about friendship, this, that, and the third. But here's the thing. Brooklyn knew about them doing, you know, the devil's tango, pretty much, behind his back. And she chose not to say anything to him. But you want to stand there and start lecturing him about friendship, and if my friendship meant anything, then you would sit there and tell me the real reason why, and you wouldn't do it, and blah, 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 blah. You're supposed to be his friend, and you know that they're doing something behind his back, but you're not going to say anything. And you have the audacity to sit there and lecture him about friendship. Are you kidding me? Man, Ish is about to hit the fan tomorrow, and I can't wait, and I hope they actually do it. I don't know. I don't think they will, but I didn't think I was actually going to see a full body of Peter. So, and I'm still just like, it's my guy, Peter back. So, Laura, Martin, Jordan, and Kevin. They all get together because Jordan's like, yo, Cyrus put a hit on me. Now, of course, that's just so... I mean, we all know the reason why that Laura's leaving is because she's going on vacation. I guess, I think his name is Knight something. Probably going to go a little R&R too. But yeah, she comes over and she's like, yo, listen, Cyrus put a hit on you. So you need to go into Woodstack now. And that's pretty much what they wound up doing. You know, she asked Kevin to stay because, you know, to be Spencer's moral compass and to sit there and look out for him. Because, you know, it's going to go so well. Seeing just how disrespectful Spencer has been to Kevin so far. So, yeah. You got Ned that's not there trying to buy Austin off, and Austin's like, I'm not doing it. Like, you know, I want what's mine, and I want to sit there and do it for my father, and that's that. So no matter what Ned keeps me there saying, it ain't happening. And, you know, they're talking about it for a little bit, and that's when Olivia comes in there panicking and everything because Leo has a paper cut. And after it's over, I guess he gets a tetanus shot. And Austin's like, listen, come back to me. You know, make sure you make another follow-up appointment with me. I like to start when I finish. So, he agrees. They agree to do that. They leave, and that's when Austin gets the recording the message that Chase left, and they're saying he found the will or whatever, or the letter. I think that's about it. Like I said, this episode was definitely more better than it's been in a. I mean, like, this episode today was better than it's been in a long time. Because there was a lot of good scenes, and it wasn't really too much of a waste of time with a lot of people, which is something that I don't really like when characters like to be there just to run out the clock. And this episode seems like everyone had something of importance, you know. Hell, even Laura and, you know, like Lauren and Martin just sit there and say, you know, they're going to be gone for a little bit. So, anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I will see you in the next video.